Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to take a look at the spine interface. Let's get started by taking a quick look at the spine interface. Now when you first open Spine, it looks a little bit complicated. Now like most programs, Spine has a menu along the top. We have the standard menu options, such as New Project, Open and Save the project. We have a new skeleton. It allows us to create a new skeleton. Import project. Import data. Export. We also have Texture Packer and Texture Unpacker. Finally, we have the settings. Now to the right of this, we have some icons that allow you to open project, save project, undo, and redo. We have a pull-down menu for views. At the top right of the screen, views that are already opened, as shown in light gray, and different views are available in setup mode and animate mode. Each view has a tap at the top, and the tap can be dragged to move it to a new position. And an orange rectangle will appear where the tap can be dropped. Its app can also be dropped next to other taps. These can be resized by dragging the edge of the view. If you can be minimized by left-clicking the menu icon, to the right of the tab, and then choosing Minimize. We can also minimize the view by right-clicking the menu icon. Minimized views appear as icons next to the View select box, and clicking an icon restores the view to its previous position. All views can be minimized by clicking the Minimize button next to the View select box. And if we click it a second time, we'll restore all the views that were previously minimized. If you can be close by left-clicking the menu icon, to the right of the tab, then choose Close. Also, if you can be closed by double-clicking the menu icon, closed views will be hidden until they are open again, using the View select box. We're going to go over is the hierarchy. So the hierarchy is this panel right over here. It's labeled hierarchy, and this is where all your layers, all of your images, all of your bones, everything that makes up your animation, and your character is over here in your hierarchy. So let's go through each part of the hierarchy. So the first thing we'll go over is the image folder. So right here we have the image file there. We can go ahead and hit the drop-down arrow to show each image in there. If we hover over it for long enough, you'll see that our image right there appears on the side. And we have all of our images there. So those are images. Now our images are attached up here into our root, which you'll see here in a second. But now let's move on to the animation. So the animations is where all your animations will be held. And you can create multiple animations for now. And like I said, all of these slots are attached to what's called the root or the root. So if you go in closest to the root bone, and the root is down here, the root is right here at 0, 0. And you can move that for now, we're just going to leave it there. But what the root is it's basically the point that everything is attached to. You'll see down here, at the bottom of our hierarchy, when one or more of the three notes is selected, their properties are shown at the bottom of the tree. However, some properties can only be edited when only a single node is selected. The three buttons at the top of the properties are enabled for most tree nodes. First we have duplicate, which duplicates the selected items. Then Rename, which opens the Rename dialog. Pressing F2 will also open the Rename dialog. And as already mentioned, the Rename dialog can also be opened by double-clicking a tree node. Last we have Delete, which deletes the selected items. We have these controls down here. Now depending on what you have selected, in your hierarchy that will change your controls. So here you'll see, it shows you the icon for the object you're on. So in this case, it's the root. You can check or uncheck the name. And you can even change the color of your boot. Or if you're on a bone, you can change the color of your bone. If we go and switch to the torso, you'll see it has different controls, so we can change the color of that also. We can also create a set parent. Now this won't make much sense to you right now. But just understand that when you select different things. So if we move down to our image, it has a different set of controls, can also set a parent that. We're going to be using these a lot. But you don't have to worry about this too much. I just want you to know that the controls are down here at the bottom. Next let's go over the filters. So up here at the top of our hierarchy you see that we have all these different filters. The filter buttons control which types of nodes appear in the tree. As a shortcut with placed bone slots and attachments on the left. But if you need finer control you can click the filter button and choose the exact types of nodes you want visible. Right-clicking the filter button will reset your filters. Left-clicking it will restore the previous filter settings. The filter buttons can make certain tasks much easier. If an attachment is selected in the editor area, and attachments are hidden in the tree, the attachment slot will be selected instead. As another example, Drawler can also be adjusted more easily by hiding bones and attachments. This also makes it possible to select many slots in the tree by holding Shift to select the range. When auto scroll is enabled, the tree will automatically expand and scroll to nodes when items are selected in the editor area. In some scenarios, you may prefer to disable auto scroll, so you don't lose your place in the tree. Tree annotation icons are shown on the right side of the tree. For example, to indicate related constraints. Clicking on an annotation icon will select that item in the tree. Then right here we have our search. So if we click that search icon we can find a certain slot or a bone and we can even replace it. We can do all kinds of things in here. But for now we're not going to worry about any of this, but just that's there. Let's go and hit cancel, and then over here we can either zoom in on everything or we can zoom out on a limb. So if I zoom out you'll see it cause everything. If you zoom in it opens everything back up that we had before. If I go on select my root and zoom in, it's going to open everything with my root. I'm going close out of that. Next let's go over how to navigate around through your document area. So you're going to need to be able to click and drag around and also zoom in now. So the way you click and drag is you just right-click with your mouse and click and then drag around. Then the way you zoom in is you need to hold down Control then right-click and either drag up or drag down Orphant using a mouse with a rolling scroller. You can go ahead and just scroll that back and forth and that will zoom in and out. So the main tools in Spine are found down here in the main toolbar. And we have Tools and Transform. And I'll be going over these now. So the Rotate, Translate, Scale, and Shear tools each work in the same way. And they work by the selected item as adjusted by dragging the mouse. And the drag should start in empty space or on the item you have selected itself. For example, I first select the bone here. and I drag outside, you see. And I rotate the bone because my rotate tool is active. And I can switch to translate, you see it changes the icon here. Or scale and the icon changes again. Or shear and the icon changes again. I'm just going to go back to rotation. I can also rotate by just dragging in here as I said before. But I can also just do a quick manipulation without first selecting bone. For example, I could rotate the torso by just clicking and dragging. You can see it rotated. And I didn't have to select the bone first. This is very useful if I need to make very quick adjustments to the post. Each transform tool has a numeric value which is displayed down here. You see these fields here. And if I select a bone, you can actually see the values. Now if I wanted to change one of these, I could just select the rotation here and entering 30. Then the new value will take effect once I hit either Tab or Enter. So here, I hit Enter and you see it now changed the value. And it displays up here in the editor view. You can also use the mouse to change the value by hovering over and then just scrolling the mouse while hovering over it. Or you can just drag up and down. Now I can also hold down Shift to change this value in smaller increments. You can see I'm holding down Shift now while dragging the mouse. You can also use the arrow keys to change the value for the selected tool. And let me just try and do that. So if I hit the right arrow here, you can see I'm changing the value, and now if I hold down Shift, I'm not using nudging it slightly, so again adjusting it in smaller increments. The local, parent, and world axes that I have here will determine the numeric values shown for rotation and translation, as well as the direction of the axes shown here in the edit area. Now you can see currently it's set to local. And if I change this to parent, you can see these arrows will align up with the parent bone here. And if I set it to world, they will align up to the world direction. Also you can see the values here will change. Here if I set to local again, I set the parent, these values change slightly. And well, now it's based off the center here. The next tool is the post tool, which you can find down here, as you already have it selected. And the post will adjust the bone rotation by using inverse kinematics or just IK. Now if I select a bone here, you see I have this small icon here at the top. I can drag this around to rotate the head. But where this tool really shines is if you have multiple bones selected. Like if I take this arm here. Let's select these two bones. You can see I can actually drag the tip here. And the last bone in the hierarchy will try and target this small icon. So I just can do that. I can also select multiple bones in the usual way by just clicking here. Then holding down Command, you can see I'm selecting multiple ones. But while I have the post tool active, I actually don't need to hold down Command to do a box like. So I can just drag here. Now if I hold down Command, I can do multiple box selections like so. The Weights tool is used in combination with the Weights view, that will pop up automatically when I click and mesh, while the tool is active. And I already have the tool active here. So now if I click this mesh, you see the view popped up. The Weights tool is used to set the influence of bones on vertices of a mesh. We'll be going over how to use the Weights tool in a later video. The Create tool is used to create new bones, which can only be done when I'm inside of a setup mode. And before you can create a new bone, you first have to select the bone that will be the parent. Then by left-clicking and dragging the mouse, I can create a new bone and then set the length of the bone. Let me show you how this is done. So I have the Create tool active here. And I select the parent. And now I click. And I drag. And this creates a bone. And set the length. I can also just do a single click, which will create a serial length bone. Like this. And you see here, we have 2 bones. Now the length of the bone is purely cosmetic. Except when you're using IK constraints. Or the Auto Weights feature. When setting up your weights. Let's go ahead and switch over to the animation side of Spine. So the way you switch over to the animation is by coming up here to where it says Set Up. You're going to go ahead and click that. And now, you're in the animation mode. Now down here you'll see that you have a dope sheet. Or you can also think about this as your timeline like we had in Photoshop. And this is where you're going to add in all your keyframes. Let's go ahead and zoom out of this. Now a quick way to zoom out so that you can see your entire character or object is by coming down here to the bottom left corner of the screen. And you're going to hit this little box that says Zoomed to Fit. Go ahead and click that and that will zoom you out. So has your character filling the entire document area. We will take a look at the Dope Sheet view. The Dope Sheet view is used to display and edit the timing of an animation's keyframes. Animation is an iterative process. And the Dope Sheet provides powerful tools to refine your animations. First we'll take a look at the transport controls. From left to right, we have first jump to the animation start. Jump to the previous key. Play backward or stop if we're already playing. Play forward must stop if we're already playing. Jump to the next key. Jump to the animation end. And repeat. When repeat is enabled, the position will jump to the first frame. When playback reaches the last frame, the timeline shows time divided into 30 frames per second by default, though we can change this in the playback view. The frames are for convenience to make it easier to choose 2 screen timeline positions. Animations can be played at a higher-lower frame rate than the timeline displays. And keys can be set between timeline frames. The orange diamonds indicate which frames have at least 1 key. The orange vertical line marks the last key in the animation, which determines the animation's duration. Scroll the mouse wheel over the timeline zooms the timeline in or out. The zoom slider at the bottom left of the dope sheet indicates the current zoom level and can be dragged. To the right of the zoom slider is the zoom keys button. Let's zoom to timeline so all keys are visible. Similar to panning in the editor area, dragging with the right mouse button pans the timeline left all right. The current timeline position is indicated by the sign and downward-facing triangle. A new timeline position may be set by left-clicking or dragging. Dragging in the timeline is called scrubbing, and is a quick way to see how the skeleton post changes over time. Hold Shift while clicking or dragging to set the timeline position between frames. This is especially useful while scrubbing to see the animation interpolate smoothly. When repeat is enabled and the timeline is scrubbed past the last frame, Then the position will look back to the first frame. But only if the scrubbing started before the last frame. This allows scrubbing to be used on a looping animation. If this behavior is not desired, then either begin scrubbing after the last frame, or disabled repeat. The current timeline position is also shown next to the current button. A frame number can be typed, and followed by the Enter key, to set the current timeline position. If the current button is active, the dope sheet will automatically scroll horizontally during playback. This is useful when doing a long animation, and not all the keys fit in the dope sheet horizontally. When repeat is enabled, playback rupees from frame 0 to the highest frame that has a key, out of all skeletons that have a visible animation. The last frame is indicated by an orange line in the dope sheet. Looping allows the start and end frame to be set so only the chosen section of the animation repeats when repeat is enabled. This setting only controls how the playback repeats. It is not stored per animation. To set the start frame, set the timeline position, and click Loop Start. To set the end frame, set the timeline position and clicked Loop End. The timeline shows the loop section using green marks and frame numbers. To clear the loop section, click Loop Start or Loop End twice. When the editor area selection is empty, or when the selected items do not have any keys, then the dope sheet will show all rows. When items are selected that have keys only, the rows for those items are shown. This can be used to reduce clutter in the dope sheet for complex animation. Once the dope sheet contains to the side rows, the lock button can be used to prevent the dope sheet rows from changing. The refresh button updates the dope sheet rows for the current editor area selection. The Select Bones button selects the bones for the current dope sheet rows. The Filter button controls which types of keyframes appear in the dope sheet. When the icon is yellow, everything is visible by default. When filtering is active, the icon will turn red. It is possible to toggle filtering on and off by right-clicking the filter icon. Left-clicking will show the filter menu. You can select multiple items from the list by holding Ctrl or Shift while clicking. Selecting an item from the list will only show keys that match the selected type in the dope sheet. When current tool is selected, the keys will be filtered based by the tool currently active. We can copy, cut, delete, or paste keys. First we have copy, which copies the selected keys to the clipboard. Copy can also be performed by pressing Ctrl+C. Cut copies the selected piece of the clipboard and then deletes them. Cut can also be performed by pressing Ctrl+X, deletes the selected keys. The lead can also be performed by pressing Delete on the keyboard, or by double-clicking a key. Paste the last copy's keys at the current timeline position. Paste can also be performed by pressing Ctrl+V, transform color attachment. And deform keys can be pasted to a different bone by selecting a different bone before pasting. When key shift is enabled and the key is moved, all keys after the move key are also moved. Key shift can also be used by holding Alt while dragging a key. This can be useful when adjusting the timing between keys without affecting the timing of keys after the key that is moved. Overlapping action is an important animation principle that makes animations look natural. For example, if the arms and legs are always keyed on the same frame, the movement will appear robotic. To fix this, the arm keys can be offset to be slightly ahead or behind the leg keys. Key Adjust allows multiple keys to be edited at once. When Key Adjust is enabled, and the Rotate, Translate, Scale, or Post tool is used to manipulate bones in the editor area, all selected keys are adjusted by the same amount. When Auto Key is enabled, a key will be set automatically anytime a change is made. This can be convenient, but care must be taken to not accidentally create unwanted keys. We will take a look at the graph view. The graph view allows the interpolation between keys to be customized. When a key is selected in the dope sheet, the graph shows how the value will change from the selected key to the next key. The graph will appear empty if no key is selected in the dope sheet. If there is no key after selected key, or the selected key doesn't support interpolation curves, such as event keys, the x-axis on the graph represents the time between piece. The left edge of the graph is the timeline position of the selected key. The right edge of the graph is the timeline position of the key after the selected key, when only a single key is selected. The cyan vertical line indicates the current timeline position. The y-axis on the graph represents the change in value between keys. The bottom edge of the graph is the value of the selected key, and the top edge of the graph is the value of the key after the selected key. The colored line between the bottom left corner and upper right corner shows how the value changes over time from selected key to the next key. The curve type determines how the value is interpolated between frames. The curve types available are linear keys, ratio keys, and stepped keys. Let's take a look at the different types. Linear is the default curve type, and results in the linear interpolation between key values. This means the value changes at a constant rate when the timeline position moves from the first key to the second key. The Bézier curve type uses a Bézier curve to interpolate between key values. An Bézier curve has two handles that can be dragged to customize the rate at which the value between keys changes. Note that Bézier handles can be dragged below 0%. Or above 100%, allowing you to overshoot the original key values. Bézier curves are useful for when you want to create nonlinear motion without creating additional linear keys. Here we have Spineboard running with linear keys set on his hip, which makes the up and down motion on his body appear stiff. With Bézier curve, we get a more natural motion. As the body moves up, it slows down when nearing the apex, and then picks up speed while moving down again. Last we have the stepped curve. The stepped curve does not use interpolation at all. That means the value does not change until the next key is reached. This can be useful when you don't want to have any interpolation between your keys. Here step keys are used on the light on the side of spine bus harbor board, so it doesn't look like the light is moving, but instead get the appearance that individual lights are being turned on and off in sequence. When multiple keys are selected, the first selected key is drawn as normal. and can be changed, but the other keys are drawn in gray. When match is enabled, modifying the curve type, removing the Bezier curve handles will modify all the selected keys to match the first selected key. For example, with match enabled, if I first select one key and then select another, the second selected key will match the first selected key once start manipulating the page handles. Selecting a curve in the preset section of the graph view applies it to any selected keys while a preset is selected. Changing the curve or curve type in the graph view updates the preset. Presets are added and removed using the plus and minus buttons. And may be renamed by double-clicking the preset. We hope you will like it. Let us know your opinion. If you have any questions, then please let us know. Please like, comment, share. We need your support. And guys, please don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.